Welcome to the Smart Sales Solutions podcast, where we learn to implement intelligent solutions in a complicated marketplace with your hosts, Keith McKinney and Rich Rudnick.
Welcome, everyone, to the Smart Sales Solutions podcast. Our topic today is very timely, as all of you should be in plan mode for 2020. As a mastermind group for Smart Sales Solutions, we just came back from Palm Springs hashing all of this out. And who better to hear from than the best of the best? I'm your host, Rich Rudnick, and it's my pleasure to introduce this panel of superstars. Now, keep in mind, these guys are clients of mine who have been with me for many years, some of them over 10 years. And they're best in their market. They've seen consecutive best years ever. They're market dominators, and we all have learned from each other and have grown as well. We're also great friends. Guys, it's a blessing for me to have you in my life, and I want to introduce you, and I want to start with Keith. So Keith, go ahead and give your hand raised there so we all know you're there.
Yeah, hey.
Good to have you on. So Keith is a Navy fighter pilot, and that's his alias. And with Keith, what you need to know is he has over 40 years experience. He is our deepest well on the team here, and he has a team of agents that do residential and commercial, mostly commercial, and he's doing a lot of business, 7-figure transactions, and he's also over 150 commercial agents in his market. So Keith, so great to have you on the call. And what was it that you flew in Vietnam?
Actually, I started flying the Grumman AF-2S. They call it a submarine hunter killer. That's it's an interesting name. And then we started flying the jets, the A4J, which was modified for surveillance work and reconnaissance off the USS Coral Sea. And so it was. That kept me busy for a while.
Well, listen, I'm going to tap into you later, and there's a lot that we have gleaned and will glean. I want to get to the others, but so glad to have you on the call. The other that I want to introduce to you is the air traffic controller, Pat Sullivan. Pat, give a hand wave. So Pat, in his previous life, was not only an air traffic controller, but Pat, correct me where I'm wrong, you were an executive officer for one of the regional command centers, right? Or what? What's the official name for that?
Air Traffic Control Center.
There you go. Sometimes it's not that difficult, right? So You were there. That was your career before. And here's the interesting part. And we all heard the biggest probably event we all experienced, 9/11. There was Pat in the command center on duty when that all went down. And you know, I've always been fascinated in thinking, how do they land all those planes and keep them in the air and keep them from crashing into each other, much less when there's a report coming or a command coming in, you need to land them all in 10 minutes or whatever. And I want you to expand on that later. We'll hear from you on that. But the other piece now is your second career. You decided you retired and you couldn't stay at home, right? You couldn't play golf. You did all the golf you could do. And now you decided to take up a real estate career, and you and I got together after your second year, and I think you're up to about 200 grand, good money, but you wanted to build a team, and since then, my gosh, in 4 years, you're over $30 million and a high producing team. You're a market dominator. You're a great leader, and we've all learned so much. Every time you talk, we learn. So we want to hear from you, and thanks for being here. Appreciate that. And then the entrepreneur. So Tim, give a big hand raise there. Tim, you've been with me. We've been working together since 2008. And, you started as an agent, real estate agent. That wasn't good enough. You went to being a team leader. And then you just say, well, gosh, it'd be nice to have some extra revenue streams. So you thought, well, let's try storage units too. So now you're up to 800 storage units. And development was something you had an interest in while doing all this other stuff. And then you went from that to, I guess you didn't like the contractors around you or something. So you decided to start your own construction company and building spec homes. So I don't know, we'll try to think of something else for you to do maybe before we get the call, guys, see if we can come up with something. But here's the deal. You're a family man. You love your wife and your 4 kids. and spending time with them is probably your paramount, other than your faith. And whatever you have, we want, right, guys? We all want what Tim has, and so glad to have you here. And I know that we'll glean some more from you. And then there's the immigrant. So Freddie Rodriguez. Anybody that spends 5 minutes with Freddie, their boat's rising, right? They're lifting, because you're such an inspiration. And I will tell you, your story is powerful. We don't have time for everyone to learn about that, but someday we'll probably put that in there. But you are the epitome of the American dream. You came from humble means, from Guatemala, and what you've done, Freddie, is unbelievable. There's a book to be read and written about you, and we know that you'll share some of that with us. So you and I started coming together, in 2013, and you were an agent working 70 hours and making a little over 100 grand, and a little scared to come forward, and then you did, and look what you've done. You've got this power team. I think is that 130? I think you're going to be right around 130 transactions this year.
Yeah, really close.
$25 million.
Yeah.
And of course, that isn't enough. So you got you and your team all jacked up for that massive goal for next year. And they all believe they can achieve it because you believe you can, and you're rubbing off on them. And so see the transformation within your team is just super, super powerful. So thank you for being here. And I know you're going to hit all that big monster goal, because why not set that? And you're going to show us how you did it and teach us how you did all that. And then last but not least, the chicken farmer. So Jeff West, coaching. We raise your hand, Jeff. Let them all know who you are. Right? And you got to fill us all in on what that is. But coaching since 2015. So in four short years, Jeff, you've become a market dominator. You're number 7 in your market. 5 years or less, you'll be number 1. We keep saying it because it's going to happen. How you execute and build and have grown your team is nothing short of phenomenal. And guys, let's admit, we all were impressed by Jeff's business acumen, right? It's like, how old are you? 19? How old are you? You know all that stuff? No, that's right. You act like you're 19. That's why I forgot about that.
I keep the youth.
Anyway, I know you're going to share with us about all this, because I'm going to start with you, right? So, Jeff, why don't you just kind of kick this off and just share with us a little bit about your key to success, or what makes you successful, your philosophy on that.
Well, anytime anybody asks me that question, Rich, I've always been hard worker and perseverance. So I would have to say that's my reason for success. Right. And I always describe myself as I'm a bull in a china cabinet. I've always grabbed any type of adversity by the horns, and I don't care where the bull wants to go. I'm taking it where I want it to go.
Yeah.
Again, it comes down to that just energy, hard work, motivation. Sometimes I don't even know what motivates me, but I love real estate. I was talking to somebody just yesterday about my love for what I do, and sometimes I may be just real tired and say, hey, sometimes I want to quit, but wake up the next morning and I can't wait to get to the office. It's strange to be able to say that I do really enjoy getting up and going to work for my clients and winning for my clients and providing them the highest level of service. Also with your coaching program, that's over the years, it really draws up to a strong focus on your daily disciplines. That's really where the key success is building a strong foundation. There are certain things that you're supposed to do in your business to be successful daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and on an annual basis. And if you're not reaching your goals, you're not reaching the success that you feel you need to, then most of the time it's going back to what are those principal foundational basics. Are you honing in on those?
Well, that's a theme that you all have. It's really interesting, right? It's not as complicated as we think. But I was thinking, coming out of the mastermind meeting, and remember at the end of the first full day, when we were working through the big exercise that took longer than necessary, you came out with a real key takeaway, and I want you to share that, and then we can play on that. But what was that key takeaway, and maybe some others too, that you're going to utilize and prepare for you, as because you have a big goal too coming in for 2020?
My goal, Rich, is that what you were saying?
Yeah. So in other words, remember we were talking when we were working through our problem scenario, and you had a comment, and if you don't remember what it is, I'll tell you.
Well, I think what you're hinting at is the, I guess, the comfort in all of us getting together to discuss, where our strengths and where our weaknesses and where we feel that our shortcomings are in business. But we all share a lot of the same common themes and the struggles in our business, and hitting the high level of success that we want to hit. There's a consistent theme for all of us.
That's right.
Moving forward, and a lot of that comes down to some of those principles that we were talking about.
Yeah, so exactly. So we have problems, right? And it's sometimes misery loves company, but it's also, hey, well, let's come in and work through those together. And I'll share that whole concept about problems in a little bit. So, all right, let's explain to everybody about your alias, the chicken farmer, and just a little bit about your background from the business side and education, because I think that was really important, and some lessons we can pull from the chicken farmer. And you're saying grabbing bull by the horns. I think it's grabbing chicken by the feet, isn't it? Really for you?
It might be grabbing the chicken by the spurs, is what it would be.
By the spurs. Yeah. That sounds a little more tough. Yeah. Grabbing them by the absolutely. Spurs. But tell us what are some lessons? Just give us a little thing behind the alias on that. But what are some lessons that you use from that and that we can use from that?
Sure, absolutely. I grew up in a rural background in North Texas. I actually used to show fancy chickens, like people in the show dogs or the Westminster Dog Show, right? Yeah. So that's what I did as a hobby in high school in 4-H and FFA. Okay. I actually went to University of Arkansas. I got an undergraduate degree in poultry science. Poultry science meaning anything from the processing production side of how do you get meat on your table, KFC, Chicken Express, all those fast food restaurants, and even commercial egg industry. I was leaning towards the commercial egg industry. Fascinating business. It helps me in real estate, to be honest with you. It's an icebreaker for a lot of people. Everybody chuckles at the fact that I have got a degree in chickens. So it's really an icebreaker. And then I assure them that if they ever, through the course of our business dealings, have questions about the chicken product in their refrigerator, they can always give me a call, even though it's not related to real estate. I graduated during the recession, and I stayed in and got my master's in economics. Did a non-thesis track, 1.5 years, thinking that the economy would be strong enough to support me getting out and getting a job. That wasn't the case. I was then overeducated for a recession, and it was even harder to get a job. Ended up taking a job as a maintenance technician for multifamily and commercial real estate company, moving from Fayetteville, Arkansas to a little town called Ruidoso, New Mexico, southernmost ski resort, I believe, in the nation. So beautiful place, small town, but worked my way up, got licensed while I was a maintenance technician, helping the owner of the company with his sales and acquisitions. Ended up running operations management for a vacation rental company, and then went full time. Rich, you and I connected about I think about a year before I made that big scary jump. Right. So, and that's a huge transition, going from a W-2 to strictly 1099 when you got student loan debt, house payment, truck payments, and not as prepared, Rich, as you told me to be. But it was that hard work and that perseverance, and I'm a fear of failure driver, moving it forward. Yep.
So I think with that, I learned some things. You were telling us all and we don't have to get into egg yolks and all that, but I think the size of the business too, it's huge, right? This is a
poultry industry. Massive.
Poultry. Massive
and industry.
Poultry's bigger than beef, isn't it? Do we eat more?
It is now.
It is.
Bigger than beef and pork. It took a while, but when I was in college, it finally surpassed beef and pork production. So poultry is a major industry, and it's becoming more of a younger industry as well. They're having an age shift in management, supervision, that type of stuff. But
that's what I'm kind of getting at. There must be something other than the consumer. There must have been something on marketing and sales, and it sounds like nimbleness as well, right? How do they move from what probably third to first, right? They had to jump past pork and beef, which you're going to have to learn if you're going to go from 7 to 1, right? Because I think we figured in the market getting to 5 or 3, yeah. But now you got to jump to number 1. So I don't know, is there 1 or 2 things you can pull there?
A lot of strategy that's going to go into play here. I know for moving my ranking up, when that ranking came out, 7, I think it was about 180, 185 realtors in my marketplace.
Yeah.
We're now over 200 realtors in my market.
wow.
So that's, the competition we're in a seller's market. Quality turnkey properties under 300,000 are hard to come by here. Prices are rising, which means, hey, it's great to be a listing specialist, and that's what I've moved my focus into.
Right.
But I now have my 3rd buyer specialist joining the team. She just got licensed. Moving forward, she should be rocking and rolling by mid-December. But really what's going to have to change for me to hit a higher level of success, and I've mentioned this, but it is those foundational basics we've got to hone in on. That daily ritual of prospecting in the morning, controlling the time, controlling my schedule, not letting email and phone calls run your day.
Yeah.
Those are the most important parts. The other component, and I know we talked about during our session, is how do we manage our lead flow, our follow-up systems when we've got a lead that enters the database? How do we track it and make sure that we get the highest level of conversion?
Yeah.
If you are very skilled in what you do, how you pre-qual, how you manage and set expectations, how you learn to overcome objections through the transaction. I mean, heck, anybody in real estate knows that a smooth transaction, you're sweating it at the closing table because something has to go wrong, right? When one's too smooth, you get a little nervous. But honing in on those daily practices is what we're going to have to do to take us to the next level. Training my team. I've got my 2 new guys joining the team are less than 2 months in the business, and I've got a 14-month. Joyce is just a rock star, and in 14 months, I mean, she should be closing out the year.
My rookie of the year,
$6 million. No, she's a rock star, and she's pushing it. But for everybody, it's in a changing market. High tide rises all boats, right? So we've got to be very strategic in how we convert, and I want to be able to have my team increase our conversion rates.
Well, listen, here's what I'm hearing. We got to be super tight on everything, and it starts with the fundamentals. It's interesting.
Exactly.
That's a big piece for you. It is critical for everyone else. And then Keith, you're just we got the young guy on it. We got the guy that's been doing this forever who preaches the same thing. So there's a similarity there. We all have to do that. And I think we can safely say, as we mentioned, we're not only entering the 2020, but the 2020s. I think that how we enter the decade and how we enter the decade or exit the decade are going to be 2 different experiences.
Oh, yeah.
I think the market, everything else is going to be different. How things are super tight now with the housing industry, for example. I think that will start to loosen up, and I think it'll be a totally different market at the end, just as an example. But we have to be tight and sharp, and you're really hitting on that well, and that's why you'll get there. So I always say the bigger the producer, the bigger the problems, right? And so we were kind of commiserating with all our similarities and problems and so forth. But usually in our sessions, as you guys will attest, a lot of times we're just about solving problems. And I think there's no one, maybe Keith, but other than Keith, no one who's solved a bigger problem than our air traffic controller on 9/11. So Pat, you got to get us into the chair and tell us, and correct me on the numbers, I think there are 4,000 planes in the air, and all of a sudden you're getting the command that you have to get all those planes on the ground, and I don't know how many of them you were responsible for, but why don't you take us to that day, because we learned so much from you, and every time you talk, we learn, and there's so many leadership lessons and so forth. So why don't you take us to that day, 9/11?
Well, we had not envisioned someone crashing a plane into a major building or a coordinated attack using our own planes to create havoc in our system. We had trained for a national disruption to navigational aids due to a nuclear attack, and that would then need to clear the airspace. So when this new threat became apparent, our training kicked in, and planes were landed at the nearest airport that was suitable for them. It was weird. I mean, it was very quiet, it was controlled, and it wasn't chaotic. So, I equate it a lot to real estate as well, that if you practice your scripts and your responses, you're not shaken by new things that are thrown at you during conversations with clients or the public at large. So you're the one controlling the discussion and the flow of events, which is what air traffic controllers do. And it's also what we need to do and what our clients want. Our clients need our expertise, the ability to remove emotion from the transactions, so we all reach a successful conclusion.
Well, listen,
That's huge.
all of you, and we've talked about it in our sessions how we've had that toxic deal and it needs to be saved, and that's one of the action plans. You've all done it. You've all saved every time when it comes to that. You saved the deal. You saved the day, and that's huge. You make it sound way too easy. How many planes did you guys have to land, and how much time? I mean,
well, you're right. I don't think there's. On average, there's 4,000 some planes in the air at any time over the continental United States. But there was probably, I would say, around 2,000 in the air at that time.
Yeah,
maybe a little more. And we didn't have all. We probably only had probably about 500 of them.
So in your group, in your region. So
right.
Preparation, planning. That's all key, isn't it? And I think we always have to go to the ledge and the objections that when you mention objections, we get those. We can't script everyone. Like you didn't script airplanes, our own airplanes being used to as weapons, but you had a scenario for shutting it down. And so that's the same thing I think in business where we have to sometimes we hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. And we need to have the what ifs in there. And I think that's part of our problem solving as we're coming in there. So we want to hit these big goals, but there's always things in the way. What can we do to overcome them? If they happen, that they don't always, kind of like an insurance policy. What's your key to success?
I believe that listening to your clients and asking probing questions helps you get to what they're looking for, what they really want, their big why. We talk about that a lot. What's your why?
Yeah.
We're their experts, the one who can solve their housing problems.
Yeah.
I think for me, having a good database of contractors and vendors is important. I can't do everything myself, but being able to say, I know a guy, gives them some satisfaction and some relaxation, and they have a better experience. If I don't know the answer, I'll find it. And I think customer service is what sets us apart from others.
Yeah, I think that's excellent. So leadership is so important, isn't it? And that comes, I mean, you were in it for how many direct reports did you have? How many non-directs did you have you were?
I had 7 managers, 40 some supervisors, and not quite 300 controllers when I was executive officer.
That's a corporation, guys, right? If that was a separate business, that would be a $500 million company, just that one little department, when you're talking about numbers that size. And so leadership, give us one leadership nugget or takeaway that works for you. Listening is key, right? And we're going to solve the problems. Is there anything else and that you're using in planning? Because you've got a big goal for 2020, and you're going to be doing it with a different team change, right? So different look on your team.
I think it's difficult for all of us to give up control, and that is something that a leader has to give up some control and trust that he has trained his people properly to do the job. I think that I'm using the experiences that have occurred, the mistakes I made, to adjust the way that we've done business and do business. One of the big things we did, we put some systems in place with your help, Rich, to handle our transaction flow. And I think this last year was probably the most relaxing year that I've had because of those systems, even though we had the highest volume we've ever had.
Right.
And for 2020, I guess I'm going to concentrate, or we're going to concentrate on our lead conversion, our past client interaction, and mastering our scripts. I think that for me, a visual goal is something that keeps me on track. And Rich visited our office and I've got whiteboards all over, and one of those has our goals on it. And I think that what you focus on expands.
100%. I mean, well said. Guys, get this. The air traffic controller says the key to success and leadership is give up control. Now, come on, right? The controller says give up control. Yeah. That's really huge. And that's a great takeaway. And the systems and processes, right? Lay more track. All of you are working on expanding and refining and honing your systems and processes, because that gives us a wider track, right, to go down. And we're always in on that. So speaking of success and going to the next levels, we need to hear from the entrepreneur. So Tim, not only are you looking for opportunities, but you always find, you implement, and you execute what you go for. Now, it hasn't always been a bed of roses, right? Not everything you touch turns to gold, right? The entrepreneur, there's that success failure piece that goes. We have to plan to fail, really. That's part of success. And we have to be willing to take risk. We want to take calculated risk, but we need to be willing to take risks. So I want to hear from you, because you paid your dues, and you're so humble. Doggone it, right? You get all the success balanced, and we all appreciate that, right, guys? How humble he is about that. And let's just all admit, guys, we all would like his passive income. So with that, I'm going to turn over to you. Share us your key to success. So you got all these multiple revenue streams. You got great balance. I know it's not easy. You're always contending for it. What's your key?
Yeah, I mean, and it's mimicking a lot of what these guys have already said. It's the hard work, dedicated, loving the real estate aspect of things. Yeah. It's really, you almost have to have a organic passion to having this real estate. But my biggest thing really, and I've incorporated this probably in the last several years, is getting my family involved. I mean, they have really supported me a lot in what I've accomplished. And having that support just relieves a lot of that stress off my shoulder. I mean, it just allows me to just say, okay, I'm doing my job because I love it. And I know my family's behind me 100% on what I do. And it just makes it so much more rewarding. Which, speaking of rewarding, I think that's the biggest thing that my family loves about this is the rewards at the end.
Okay, you got to tell me today. So guys, listen to this. Our session today, I said, you got to mention this. So, on our business plan, when we're going on and for our goals, right? Who sets the reward for your goals?
My children, actually my children do. My wife has nothing to even choose on this. And some of them seem a little big and audacious, but you know what? If we can make those goals, I'm fine with it. My annual goal for this coming year is going to be a trip to Alaska, and it's not a one that you can just pull out of the pocketbook and do, but it's one of those things that, I get them involved in doing that. I mean, we break it down to monthly and then even weekly. And as they can get more involved with that, it just helps me and encourages me to just kind of push that forward.
Unless they say the monthly goal is Disneyland every month, maybe we'll put a little time out. But unless your goal's raised, maybe it wouldn't matter. Maybe the monthly goal should be Disneyland if we can bump that up a little bit, right?
Right.
That's so. What were your takeaways from the mastermind, and as you're applying a piece of success coming in?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is we can't overthink a lot of what we're doing. I mean, we just really have to, go back to what Jeff was saying. Just bring it back down to the basics. We can't. You want to look at the big picture, but to get to the big picture, it doesn't involve really making things too out of control. If we can just keep that basics and that level of simple support, right. And then going off of what Pat has said too, is kind of giving up a little of that control. Giving that faith and hope and confidence in your team to do these things. It's not rocket science. It's just trust in what you've got and push it forward.
Yeah, that's so good. So you make it sound so simple. Is it really that simple, or do we make growing business too difficult?
Well, there is times for failure, but it really is that simple. Because if we look at those basics and stick with those core values, put that goal in place, and then like what I said, utilizing your services, Rich, and the coaching, keeps that accountability. But then throwing my family in this adds another accountability partner into this whole thing.
I think that is brilliant. I really do. Freddie, you gotta share your big crazy goal, and you probably will get Disneyland monthly because you're only 2 hours away. You probably will have to go to Disneyland once a month if you hit that goal. But that and Jeff, when you have kids, so Jeff, you will be having kids, so you'll have to bring that in. I think that is so good. So listen, I'm excited. I have no doubt that and just working through your plan to go. I'm really excited about that too, Tim, and how that will go on your construction side. I have no doubt you're going to hit that. All right. We're all about ready to go to the next level here. We're going to hear from the immigrant. So Freddie, man, I tell you what, you are such an inspiration, right, guys? I mean, he just, it's just tremendous. And I think for the rest of us, we were born in this country. I think we take a lot for granted, don't we? I think there's a lot of assumptions that we have and we make, and we got that. And I think we probably all should be immigrants. And I think we should all live in a country that is less blessed as we are. But so you came from humble means, and now you come to the United States, and it's one thing to come to the land of opportunity. It's another to seize it, though, isn't it? Not everyone does. Not everyone that comes here has that, and the journey you had has shaped you who you are, right? God allowed you to have that. You have that story and testimony, which is very, very powerful. But I'd like you to share with us, how did your upbringing and what you went through, how has that shaped and fueled you for the success that you are today?
Definitely. You know what? I think that something that I always have told myself, and I always tell God, is never forget, where I come from. As you know, I just went back to Guatemala right now, and I'm a giver. Something that you would know me for is, or me pretty much, is I'm a giver. So I went to visit several people there, right? So, and one of the ladies that I visit, it was a lady that, she used to go to our house and work in our house and everything. She's like 75, but she looks like 95, like she has all these medical issues and everything. And I was just asking her, what, I mean, I had in my heart to give her something, but I was asking her, ask me anything that you want. And she, she gave me the whole story on, and kind of shame, asking everything. She's like, well, right now is the cold season, everything, and I don't want to take advantage of you, so on and so forth. But if you could get me a good blanket, it would really help me a lot. And those are the things, that honestly, a blanket, right? Imagine, right? How many blankets do we have in our house that we literally take for granted? So why do I say that is because, I have not forgotten, it literally has been like yesterday, that I have in my mind, those images, where I come from and everything. And that fuels me to keep going, because I always, I had gone through a lot of stuff in my life, but I'm always reminded that it's not just about me. God gave me a gift, in this case, I was blessed to be put in real estate, and it's my duty to do my best so I can be a blessing to other people. And that has really helped me to bring back perspective in life in every single way. And I'm excited. We have grown every year, since I coach you, and that has been, very, very rewarding. And, we have a big goal for 2020. So, and that's going to be exciting. I think that we'll be able to meet it. I feel really confident about it.
Well, you're going to meet it, and your numbers are off the charts. They really are. I mean, you had a great year last year. 80 units? You're doing almost 130 this year. Each step we take, there's a whole new level that we have to work on, right? And we have to get better on. And you've invested in your team, and you're inspiring all the others to go. Tell me, so you're going to take your passion, your past, your drive, your giving heart. I mean, given it will be given to you, right? I mean, there's a lot of principles there that give and you'll receive. So you're applying great principles, but talk about, from what you learned on our mastermind together, anything in addition to that from your success and key, and what makes that you're going to apply and use coming into 2020, because your goal increase, but you guys got some work to do, right? And everybody's ready. Everybody's pumped on your team. I think I got through all the sessions this week. They're ready to go. But what else from the group together hanging with these guys?
Well, you know what? I mean, I was first of all, I was very honored to be around every one of you guys. Just for the fact that I learned a lot. But one of the biggest things that I come back with, number one, is about leadership. If something that I can see each of you guys, Team Pat, Jeff and Keith, and even you, Rich. That all of you guys are at the level that you guys are because you have such a tremendous um, growth when it comes to leadership, and you're passionate and you're focused. So to me, number one will be leadership. Second one, literally going back to structuring the systems better, master that. Something that we have in common as a group is that we're passionate for what we do. We really care. We show up that way. We literally come forward, showing either to our team members or our people that we care, and that is something that I can see in every one of you guys. And it pushes me to be even better than when I am, and I'm honored, to that we had actually able to spend so much time. I mean, we went through a lot of stuff, right? We went through how to solve some of the problems that we have. It was really eye-opening that a lot of the stuff that we have in a different level, we all have, we all are right here probably, but in some of us are right here, but we all have somehow the same challenges. We want to grow to a next level, and the support group that we have, I'm actually really, really excited about it.
Well, I think what I'm hearing is, listen, we all are taking things from each other. And I think one of the takeaways is, let's get a mastermind group, get in a mastermind group of others to build and grow from, and go, well, listen, I have no doubt you're going to achieve that goal. And we're looking forward. You're going to share us, come back next year, tell us how y'all did it. And then we'll learn from there. So as if we haven't learned enough and been inspired enough, now we're going to turn over to the Navy fighter pilot. So Keith, you've been sitting there. Now you get to chew on everything everyone else has said, right? Being last is always best, right? We always want to be last in the listing presentation as well as coming in. So he's last. He's coming in. So your experience, your success, and overcoming hardship. I mean, life is hard, right? Life is not about avoiding problems. It's about overcoming them. And whether it's personally or financially or business-wise, I mean, your success has been honed out of your hard times and your trials, right? So that
certainly that
trials and tribulation that deepen the character and the resolve. I mean, you could go on and on with that. But I think a lot of that had to do with your Navy training, right? I mean, some of that prepared you for it, wouldn't you say? I mean,
it certainly did. It gave me a really early introduction to many things. I mean, obviously, my experience there were many takeaways. Life lessons were many and profound. But there are a few that really stand out, specifically that have really been important for me as a real estate broker in my real estate career. And what resonates most is discipline. Certainly number one, having that discipline to drive through the problem areas, and what do we do when things aren't working so well, and having that discipline to really stay on point and to keep those fundamental things that you learned many years ago alive and keep doing the same things. And it's that consistency and discipline that was so important. Another couple of things here I wanted to mention. One was just staying cool and calm. You mentioned this earlier, and many others have already talked about this, but there's so many problems that bounce up during a day or a week or a month. And I think one of the things that I learned very early was just staying calm and cool and collected, and not letting my emotions or my fears, in many cases, get the best of me, where I would just lose the edge, certainly with the excitement of the moment, and that fear suddenly consumes you. I think it's something you really have to fight back and to learn how to just stay calm and collected no matter what. And in the Navy experience, certainly one that we all talked about a lot, was something called spatial awareness. What's your SA? And spatial awareness has to do with really being very alert to everything around you, your environment, what's going on, what are people talking about, saying, and certainly visually what's happening in your airspace. So I think part of our spatial awareness in a deal or a transaction is what's going on with everybody around us. How are they reacting to all of this? Buying a house, buying a commercial investment, it's big. I mean, it's huge in their life. We do it every day and begin to kind of minimize it in a way. But for them, these are huge issues, and there can be many big sort of emotional impacts. So for us to be really aware, really totally aware of what's going on in our areas is just really important. Constant observation of what's going on around us, and of course the last issue is just staying focused. I think that's really it. There's so many distractions out there that happen. One thing happens, another thing happens. The cell phone goes off, and somebody has an issue here, and the email is going off, and all of a sudden we've just got distractions like popcorn all over the place, and we just really have to stay mindful and focused. What was our objective? Where are we heading? What's going on?
In the moment.
That's it. Yeah. In the moment, stay dialed in, get the blinders on, and not let all these distractions around us just get the best of it.
I mean, that's just really great. It's the draft horse blinders is the draft horse analogy, right? So we keep that on the horse so he's not looking to the left or right how many rows he's got to plow through. Just focus on the row in front of you, buddy. Just keep going. And I think the other key for everyone as we keep going to new levels, ratcheting the time disciplines, which include being less available to be more available, and scheduling when you're available is more important than ever. And that being less available allows you to be more available and more in the moment with those who you need to be. And not letting the phone drive the day, or the reactionary tyranny of the urgent client mode need. That's why we've got
well said.
The time set aside that we're going to deal twice a day with those urgencies, and yet the rest of the time we're in the moment. We're not going to be responding and reacting to all that, because that brings it in. Between you and the air traffic controller and landing all those planes and everything else, I mean, that's really what this is about. And the keeping your head cool. I mean, I had to learn. I was thinking of you when my internet was down last Tuesday, and I was trying to roll out this anything. And I was thinking, what would Keith do? Right? And I was
all of a sudden, it's like, oh no!
Yeah, we'll survive all this. So that was good. I was keeping your mind on that. So in addition, so this surprises many about you. When they get to know you, oh, he's accomplished all this and he's done all this. It really comes down, just like the rest of you are talking, passion. Right? Mm-hmm. You got to feel it, which is interesting, and execution of the fundamentals. So just hit on that real quick, because I know the rest of you have been doing that too, but that's a theme that you guys all have.
It really is, and it's an underlying theme and a thread that just runs through all of our lives every day. And even though our industry is evolving constantly, like frankly any profession does, the fundamentals for our industry certainly haven't changed really all that much. And it's essential that we keep sharpening our saw. I always talk about that with my team members. We always have to keep sharpening that saw each and every day, getting better and better and better and better at these basic elements that we need to learn really well. And that really helps us to execute in a much cleaner, more efficient way. The applications, however, that technology has, and I've certainly learned a lot in this trip to Palm Springs from Jeff and Freddie both. I mean, what you're doing is over my roof, and I'm learning so much from what you're doing, because you're learning how to adapt all of these new technologies to our industry that will change the how. Not necessarily the why, but the how we accomplish all of these fundamental tasks. And all of these different applications are are teaching us new ways to keep doing the fundamental things better and easier. And that's where the learning comes in for all of us, and how we all learn, even guys like me, we learn how to adapt these different tools to our trade, and our everyday practice. And so it is just about the fundamentals, but it's also about learning how these new technologies are emerging and changing the dynamics of our world around us and allowing us to do the fundamentals better.
That's so well said. And guys, we can go on and on with this, right? I mean, this is so good, but we do have to kind of bring to a wrap. But I just want, first of all, thank all you guys. This has been great. But any last thoughts or comments going through your heads, connecting the dots from what was said, or just anything that any of you want to finish off or say, or just give us kind of parting shots here?
Well, certainly I'll jump in and say I love all you guys, and it's learning with you has been a terrific experience for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's I mean, for him to say that, right? That's quite a bit. Go ahead, Jeff. What do you want to say?
Well, I'd say the same for all of you guys too. It's been great to be able to learn from you guys and see the commonality in our business growth, and the potholes and the road bumps that we experience. Those are just small parts of our business, because we all see the fruits of our labor. Building on what Keith was saying, the technologies and the changes that are going on in the business, one of the big messages that I tell a lot of people that I come across that maybe express some frustrations in the way the business runs, Rich, Zillow. Everybody talks about Zillow. A lot of these businesses are coming into strong play in the real estate industry, because real estate professionals like ourselves, anybody else that may not be doing coaching that might be able to have the advantage of your coaching, Rich, is if we raise our expectation, Future Real Estate's company motto, but we've really got to allow our clients, our customers, buyers and sellers as a whole, to raise their expectations on what real estate professionals do, provide, communicate, solve problems. We, as a collective group of real estate professionals, have got to raise our standard on how we perform. We can no longer be average. We all have to be above average in order to keep our profession moving forward. Going on to what Keith is saying, we've really got to push ourselves to adopt new technologies, but we've got to be very careful about the technologies that we adopt and how they will benefit our end consumer, which is our buyers and our sellers. That's who we serve.
No, I think that's so great. Here's something real quick, just adding on all of that. Good isn't good enough. We have to become great. Here's one of my big concerns is in markets like that where a lot of people are having best years. We're in just a super strong economic time. It's complacency. And I think there's a balance between complacency and contentment. But I think what we have to do is we want to relax. When we're on, we want to be on. When we're off, we want to be off. And that's why I think fighting for balance is key. So balance that we can do that. And it's not like we have to leave town to get any kind of time off, that we put the systems in place, that the team is running and so forth like that. But we're going to see, I believe in this next decade, we're going to be challenged more than we ever have. I think we're going to see opportunities more than we ever have. I think it's going to be fewer and fewer people doing more and more of the business. So we have to raise not only our level, but those around us. So that's good. Anybody else? One or two more parting shots here. Comments to add?
Well, I can add just add pretty much to what you guys are saying. What the fact that that we are having the similar challenges, it makes me feel really good, because at the end of the day, we can probably together we can find a solution to the challenge that we have in a different level. We're trying to double, triple our business. We have, challenges that we need to find out a way to make them work. And we know that there's a way, because we've seen other people doing it. And, for us to be where we are, in my case, I never thought that I would be. Right? To be around you guys makes me feel really good, to be honest.
Well, we got that. Okay, so we all feel you impact our lives, and so it's two ways. Real quick, Tim. Real quick, Pat. So just any last parting?
I think just sticking with the core. I mean, stick with your core in regards to what you believe and how you're going to persevere. And that's just going to be the biggest thing. And look for that support, be it family, friends, coach, whatever that is. I mean, you just got to stick with it.
So what you're talking about is your core values, your core purpose, right?
Yep.
Your hedgehog concept. Let's play to our passions. Let's play to what we're best at. We don't have to overcomplicate things, but keep working and building on our disciplines, surround ourselves with the right people, and that goes. All right, Pat, you get the last word.
I want to steal Freddie's presentation back.
Yeah. You got to see me for that. Is that true? Maybe not. I don't know on that. Well, half of that's yours. We know that. So we're going to give you credit on that one. That's good. Well, there you go.
It's a great system.
Yeah. Well, everybody, to that point, we got to dial in the 6-step dynamic presentations for you and all your teams. So I know, Tim, we're seeing yours. You're upping that. We need to take that across the level. Take that out and send for you, Jeff, and so forth. But that's so good. Listen, that's great. Thank you, guys. I have no doubt you'll achieve your goals, and we'll keep partnering together and sharpening our saws together as we do. And I want to thank all of you for listening. And if you would like help in setting and achieving a larger goal than you ever thought possible, contact us today. No obligation. We'll walk you through that. One of our coaches. Thank you all, and get ready for increase and contending for you to have a great 2020. Thank you guys so much for joining us. It was great.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Smart Sales Solutions podcast. For more information, go to smartsalessolutions.com.